Hi, everyone. I'm John C. Morley, the host of the J. Moore Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome once again to the J. Moore Tech Talk Show. It is Friday, July 17th, 2026. Great to have you here. If this is your very first time joining me, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you, and I want to say the words welcome. So great to have you here on the show. If you've been here one time, 5 times, 10 times, 100, or maybe even more, I'd like to say thank you and welcome, but I also want to say the words welcome back. Yes, welcome back. Great to have you here. So this is a show that talks all about technology that you want to be, let's say, maybe concerned about, technology that could make your life better, and even some tips and tricks to make technology better for you. All right, guys, without any further ado, if you're thirsty or hungry, feel free to go get yourself something. I have an RO water here with some fresh lemon. It's absolutely delicious. So, yes, feel free to go grab that. Come on back. And don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations after the show. Without any further ado, let's kick this off. All right, everyone, this is the J. Moore Tech Talk Show, and you're here with myself, John C. Morley. The Hidden Technology Revolution, Changing Our Lives, Series 5, Show 30. That's what today's show is all about. Welcome once again to the ever-popular, the J. Moore Tech Talk Show. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, graduate student at Montclair State University, keynote speaker, passionate lifelong learner, and so grateful now to be a published author. You know, guys, technology is changing faster than ever before, probably more than you blow your nose. And many of the biggest changes are happening quietly behind the scenes. AI, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, privacy, and connected devices are reshaping our world as we know it every day. Today, I'm going to help you uncover several technology shifts that are already influencing our lives and why understanding them today will help prepare you for tomorrow. Number one, AI isn't the biggest threat. How people choose to use it is. Artificial intelligence is simply a tool. Like every tool before it, its impact depends on the people using it. AI can improve healthcare, education, and even business, but it can also automate scams and misinformation. Our responsibility is to guide technology with ethics, accountability, and common sense. Something I think that's been missing from our world, right? I don't know where common sense has gone, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it got lost. Like somewhere in the world, technology got lost. I don't know why it got lost, but somehow, it definitely got lost. So, I want to talk to you guys about AI chatbots, and they just hit a privacy wall. Artificial intelligence is moving fast, but regulators are starting to push back. Italy just fined the company behind Character.ai, saying its age verification and privacy protection for younger users wasn't strong enough. As AI becomes part of everyday life, one question is becoming impossible to ignore. Should AI companies be held to higher standards when children are using the platform? That's a serious question, guys. And number two, privacy is becoming a luxury as our digital lives become more connected and more heavily monitored, which you may not be aware of. Every device we use collects some kind of information: phones, apps, websites, all kinds of smart devices create digital footprints that reveal more about us than most people realize. Convenience is valuable, yes, but understanding who has access to your information is becoming just as important. See, protecting your privacy now requires awareness instead of assumption. And I think that's something a lot of people, well, they push it under the carpet. And the reason they do that is because they don't really know. They don't really know why it's happening. And I think that's a big problem for, a lot of people. They don't understand, like, what's happening or, why that's going on. But I think it's important to understand that, right? I think it's very important to understand that and know, what's happening. But there's definitely a lot of shifts happening in our life. Number three, guys, the next technology race isn't just on Earth; it's happening in space, in the power grid. That's right, and across global infrastructures. Technology depends on satellites, electrical grids, fiber networks, and massive data centers. Artificial intelligence, or short AI, is increasing demand for all of them, unfortunately. The countries and companies investing in infrastructure today are building tomorrow's competitive advantage. Now, innovation requires more than software, it requires the systems that keep technology running. I think that's something that a lot of people, they get scared about. I think the reason they get scared about is because they don't necessarily understand, like, why that happens or how it happens or how is that going to impact people, right? How is that going to impact people? And you might be saying, John, this doesn't make any sense. But this is important, guys, because when we think about satellites, right? And satellites are definitely, very important. But more so than that is our power grid. So AI started to strain the power grid. Artificial intelligence isn't just creating smarter software, it's putting unprecedented pressure on the grid. Utilities across the United States are scrambling to secure transformers and other critical electrical equipment as AI data centers consume more electricity than ever before, driving up costs and creating multi-year equipment shortages. The next AI race may not be about building better models. It may be about who has enough power to keep them running. Do you think our electrical grid is ready for the AI revolution? Many people think it is. I don't think so. I think we need to do some more R&D on that, guys. And cyber attacks are evolving more and more, from stealing data to disrupting hospitals, utilities, transportation, and everyday life. Cyber criminals no longer focus only on personal information. They target hospitals, pipelines, schools, airports, and power companies because disrupting services creates widespread consequences, panic. Cybersecurity has become a public safety issue, not simply an IT problem or an outage. Protecting critical infrastructure protects our communities. And I think that's something, again, that a lot of people, they get confused. They don't realize, like, what's happening. But when you say the word, cyber, oh, that's not gonna be a problem for me. Well, if it's not gonna be a problem for you, great. But I'm here to tell you that it is. And it's more of a problem than you actually thought about. Because did you realize, like, how they're now going after things like this? How hacks are happening? When they're going out to places like schools, right? I think that's a very, very big problem, right? How do we deal with that? They're going after major systems like Canvas, right? The one that powers the schools. And I think the more we think about it, the more we're like, hey, wait a minute, maybe this makes sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense. But I'm here to tell you that they're just trying to do things to basically get more money. And they're going after big supply chains. Why? Because they feel if they do that, they'll be able to get more money. Also, because they're more in demand for the technology. Okay. And so, the internet is becoming the new battleground. The biggest threats don't always arrive with weapons. The UK security officials warned that hostile nations, extremist groups, and online networks are increasingly using technology and social media to engineer and to recruit and spread propaganda and target vulnerable people. As digital platforms become more powerful, the line between online and real world security continues to blur very easily. Is the internet making us more connected or more vulnerable than ever before? So, again, we have a cost for convenience, right? But when convenience causes us a problem, we have to look at it and say, hey, wait a minute. Is this worth this convenience? Or am I prepared to make sure that my privacy, security, and other infrastructure assets are protected? And I know that sounds like something a lot of people like, oh, John, you're getting too crazy. Well, I'm not getting too crazy. And the reason I'm not getting too crazy is because of one thing. You know what that one thing is? The one thing is this. The one thing is that you have to understand what this all means. Okay. And that's a problem. Okay. And you might be saying, John, it's not going to affect me. But I'm here to tell you it is going to affect you. Now, maybe it doesn't affect you directly, but it affects you indirectly. And I think those are things we all need to be aware of, right? We need to be aware of that and how that's changing our life. And maybe you're going to say to me, hey, John, this is nice, but is this really what's going on? Or is it something else? And then you can ask yourself, okay, why is this being done? Am I aware of the reason, or am I being pulled into some kind of scam? Scams, ladies and gentlemen, are popping up left and right. And with AI being able to create scams for bad actors and figure out the opportune times to get people to open emails and texts, they're even trying to exploit the IRS and the local government by sending out fake warnings that, you're being subpoenaed to court by Joe Doe. There is no judge named Joe Doe that I know. And I could tell you that not only this, but you're getting banks that are basically getting hacked accounts because people are clicking links in email messages and text messages. That's not how things are going to work, guys. Not how they're going to work. Your bank is never going to ask you to click on a link. Never. Now, there is an exception. Verizon, when they do an authentication, in fact, I don't think they should be asking you to click. My feeling is Verizon should not make you click. They should actually have you type in yes or no or agree or something, because there's too much that could go wrong. That site could get exploited. And then the fact that they made the site look like Verizon's site is interesting, but then how do you know if it's real or not? I think those are big problems. Okay. And I think the reason that we say this is because of the fact that it's happening so much on the internet today. When you could talk about all the things happening and what's going on and and why things are happening, I just feel that's a very, very big problem. And that problem is something that I believe a lot of people don't really want to pay attention to. Why do I say that? I say that because people are lazy. I'm being honest. And so if it takes you an extra second or two to make sure that this is not a spam message, you're like, oh, I don't want to bother. I'm just going to click it. And now you suddenly have exposed you and who knows how many other people that use your card and your family to that bad actor, right? Bad actors are very good at stealing your information, whether that's credit cards, PHI, personal health information, or just PI, personal information. So your information is secure for a reason. And when it becomes exploited, you know what happens? Well, they can capitalize on it and you. I think that's something that's going to cause a lot of people to be like, well, wait a minute. Like, what's really going on? Like, why is this happening? And ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence is becoming one of the world's most valuable strategic resources, but it's also raising major questions about copyrights, trust, and accountability. AI is changing nearly every industry, but important questions remain. Who owns the information used to train these systems? How do we verify AI generated content? How do we build technology people can actually trust? Innovation and responsibility must continue growing together in a way that everyone could be accountable. I think that's a very important thing. When we think about copywriting, it's different now. AI's biggest copyright battle just escalated. The fight over AI, artificial intelligence, just entered a new chapter. Major news organizations are asking a federal judge to sanction OpenAI, claiming the company withheld key evidence in an ongoing copyright lawsuit over how AI models were trained. The case could help decide the future of how AI companies use copyrighted content and whether creators deserve compensation. This isn't just a courtroom battle anymore, guys. It could reshape the entire life and how the future of journalism, artificial intelligence, and who owns information in the digital age actually exists. Should AI companies have to pay when they use copyrighted content to train their models? I would say yes, right? But then when somebody says they're going to give you a license or something, is your license valid, or are they paying the fees, or are they not paying the fees? And I think this opens up a lot of Pandora's boxes, right? How do you know what's authentic, right? How do you know what's truthful? How do you know that this isn't propaganda? How do you know that it's not harmful content? How do you know any of that? Deep fakes have made this so confusing, ladies and gentlemen, that people are just, they're getting confused. I mean, left and right, not just one way, but I'm saying left and right every single day. And it's getting more confusing when we have systems like, I'll give you for example. So for a while, there was a company. It looks like they stopped calling us. The company I will tell you was called Sensormatic. Now they're owned by Johnson Johnson, who got bought out, who basically bought I think it was Tyco and ADT. They bought them out. And so because of that, Sensormatic. Now, what does Sensormatic do? Sensormatic makes the, let's say, the security you go to when you go to a department store. And they put these tags on the clothing or different items to make sure that they're paid for and they're removed before they leave. Or if they're not removed, they'll do a scan on them because maybe they're just in the box or they're a tag and they just let them go, but they have to desensitize them before they leave. Demagnetize is what we call them. And so about, I'm going to say back around early this year, let's say January, February, this company started calling our tech company. And not just once, they called every day. Now, it wasn't like they just called and didn't call again. And it wasn't like they left a message. They'd leave air. You heard me. Sometimes they leave nothing. And you could never get somebody on the phone. So what did we do? We blocked their phone number. Smart, right? Well, guess what they did? They changed the caller ID to change from another number. So even though we blocked that number, they just kept changing the caller ID. And that should be illegal if you ask me. So when that happened, this was going on for several months, and finally it got a problem that was really an issue. Our staff was complaining we were wasting lots of minutes and hours on this. I'm like, what are we supposed to do? We try to call Sensormatic. We can't get in touch with them. And it was going nowhere. So this went on for several months. Finally, I think it was last month that I'm like, enough is enough with this, reached out to our voice over IP phone provider, a phone company, and got the IP, basically not IP. In this case, I got all the phone numbers calling us, the times, the dates, etc. Had that list, And I said, I need to do something. So what did I do? I wrote a letter. All right. And this letter that I wrote wasn't threatening. It was just like, enough is enough, right? Enough is enough. And I want to share the letter with you because I think it's important to share this with you. And so I'll tell you what was happening, okay? So, letter two, here it is. I wrote this letter on June 24th, okay? And it says here via certified mail, return receipt requested, Johnson Controls, attention legal department and customer relations, yada, yada, and the address. Dear Sir, Madam, I am writing on behalf of the Jamor Connection Inc. regarding repeated unsolicited telephone calls received from callers displaying the caller identification sensor products, which is associated with Sensormatic Solutions, a Johnson Controls business. For approximately the past several months, our company has received repeated inbound telephone calls from numerous telephone numbers displaying the caller identification sensor products. These calls have disrupted our normal business operations flow and have continued despite our efforts to have them stopped. On June 24th, at approximately 6:46 p.m., I contacted Sensormatic Solutions customer service department and spoke with a live representative. During that conversation, I requested that all unsolicited calls to our company cease immediately and that every telephone number associated with our business be removed from all sales, marketing, prospecting, and automated dialing systems. The representative advised that there was very little he could do to resolve the matter and provided a telephone number for additional assistance. Immediately following our conversation, I attempted to call that number and received, guess what? A fast, busy signal. Enclosed is a copy of our call activity report, which includes the official voice over IP call detail reports generated by our telephone service provider. Together with documentation of our efforts to resolve this matter, we respectfully request that Johnson Controls investigate this matter and remove all telephone numbers associated with JMore Connection Inc. from all sales, marketing, prospecting, customer acquisition, and automated dialing systems. 2, cease all unsolicited telephone calls to our business. 3, provide written confirmation that these actions have been completed. This letter is sent in good faith effort to resolve, okay, this matter directly and professionally. We request a written response within 10 business days of your receipt of this correspondence. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Respectfully, my name, yada, yada, call activity report. So the calls, I believe, stopped last week. Now, they did not send us a letter. Basically, if they continue, we were going to take them to court. I mean, that was basically where we're going. I reached out to somebody else and I let them know how serious this was. They kept telling me, give me time. I think the calls were still happening. I reached out on the 24th. I think it took them, I'm going to say maybe 2.5 weeks to finally get to the bottom of this. Because again, I sent this to their corporate and their legal department. And the reason this was happening is they were using AI systems improperly. Apparently, they were using like a web scraper. We had something on our site that we help stores. So they figured that we were a customer or that we would help them. No, we don't sell security sensormatic products to stores. We don't do that. And every time I called, it was such a barrage to get somebody, and nobody really could help. They were so big. I even found their addresses to locations in New Jersey. I couldn't get anybody at those locations to even help me. So I reached out. There was this one lady. I'm not going to give her name, but she was very nice. They did not get back to me and tell me they resolved the issue. The calls have stopped. I'm knocking wood. It looks like they have, but I'm going to give it maybe another week or two, and then I'll believe they've totally stopped. So what happened is we just got on the case of a bad list because of an AI system that didn't take proper accountability. Now, regardless of whether that system was owned by Johnson & Johnson's or that system was actually outsourced, right? And I bet that's probably a question a lot of you have, right? And what is that question? Did Johnson, it was Johnson & Johnson Controls. It's not Johnson & Johnson. That's different. Johnson & Johnson Controls, I should say, outsource their AI dialer. And I would have to tell you that based on how long it took to get this resolved, okay, I would probably say that they've been investing heavily in this AI internal operations system, okay? Including AI assistant called Omni for HR support, built on MoveWorks, for employee self-serve, not outbound customer calling though. The company is hiring for cloud and AI contact centers. So guess what? They are outsourcing the dialer for outsourced outbound, not for their inbound for their staff, and indicating it's actively designing and managing AI-enabled contact center capabilities rather than announcing an outsourced AI dialer. So they hired cloud and AI contact center architecture roles, is what they said. It's very unclear. Johnson Johnson is also expanding its own AI offerings through acquisitions such as Natum and focused on building operations and energy optimization, with further suggestions that the company is investing in AI internally. And so the question is, if your question's coming from receiving a call that sounded AI generated, it's entirely possible. I'm telling you, it is possible that Johnson Controls uses a third-party contact center platform or AI voice solution for some customer interactions. Many large enterprises use platforms from vendors such as Genesys, Five9, NICE, Amazon Connect, or smaller providers without publicly announcing those implementations. Now, as far as the public announcement, which they should definitely say on their website that they do this, they should tell you this. So this was a real aggravation, and I could tell you this is going to be a big problem in the world for sales, because we had email. This gets even worse because you can't get to the bottom of who's controlling this. And as soon as I mentioned we were going to file a lawsuit, they did respond. It took them a little over 2 weeks. They did respond. They probably didn't want to respond anymore because they're probably afraid. They may send a letter, who knows? But obviously, they used AI, and AI was wrong. So I want to share that with you guys. Number 6, we're quietly giving up ownership in exchange for convenience. As subscriptions replace products we once truly owned, many products we once purchased outright are now rented through subscriptions, software, entertainment, cloud services, and even vehicle features, increasingly requiring ongoing payments. Convenience is appealing, but ownership provides control. Understanding the difference has become an important financial decision for so many people. So you may be asking a question. I think it's a good question to ask, and it talks about ownership, right? So when we think about ownership, we talked about Xbox, or was it Sony? No, Sony PlayStation. They were getting rid of in a few years. They're getting rid of any type of disc, and you have to download everything and be licensed for the software, and it could be removed at any time. So farmers just won the right now to fix their own tractors. Yay! What if you weren't allowed to repair something you already own? The Federal Trade Commission has reached a settlement with John Deere that gives farmers and independent repair shops access to the same repair software and tools used by authorized dealers. Supporters say it's a major win for the growing right to repair movement and for consumer ownership. When you buy something, should you have the right to fix it yourself? Now, the question with this has been a debacle, and here's why. It's not that a lot of them don't want you to repair it yourself. That was the original issue. The big issue is we don't want you to be able to repair anybody's device. So if it's yours, that's one thing. So we have to give you the password to that. But should we give you the password to other people's systems that you don't own so you can make money on them and you're not an authorized dealer? That could be like a gray area. Number 7, guys, smart devices make life easier, but they also expand our cybersecurity risks and increase this amount of personal data being collected. Smart homes offer convenience through connected cameras, thermostats, appliances, and voice assistants. Every connected device, however, creates another possible touch or entry point for attackers and another source of personal data to be shared. Strong passwords, regular updates, and secure Wi-Fi remain essential. The smartest home is one that's both connected and protected. So that's interesting, right? I like the idea of a home being connected, but I think it has to be very, very restricted in what it can and can't do online, right? We're getting a lot of this with automation systems and things like that. I think more people are concerned about their security. Okay. I mean, we've seen the horror stories with the movies, right? The ones where, the shutters go down or the water won't stop running or all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And I think a lot of people out there are like, well, wait a minute, like what's going on? Like, why is this happening? And people don't really understand that, right? That's a very, very big problem. And it's getting deeper every single day. So, you know, we think about what's happening. We think about how AI may be helping us, or maybe AI is hurting us in some ways, right? For example, one way I think that's pretty interesting is AI was supposed to help. Instead, it pushed back. State Farm's AI rollout is raising eyebrows after agents reported that the system generated incorrect customer information, including the wrong policy start dates and even false payment history, caused some challenges. AI can save time, but only if the information is accurate. When bad data gets presented as fact, it creates confusion and frustration. Damages trust and forces people to spend more time fixing mistakes than solving problems that machines created. The lesson isn't that AI is the problem, guys. It's that AI is only as good as the data and the people who designed it and oversight behind it. Have you ever had AI confidently give you the wrong answer? Yes, many, many times. So, does that mean we give up AI? I don't think it means we give up AI. I think it means we have to change our approach to how we use AI in our life. And again, that doesn't mean stopping it, but it does mean that we have to be accountable as users, and we also have to be accountable as developers, as business owners. We have to. If we don't, it's like we're just going to spread things. Okay, we're going to spread things all over the place. And I know a lot of you are saying, "Wow, this is absolutely insane." And I will tell you that many people just feel that this is something that we're going to have to live with. And yes, but we have to take responsibility to be accountable. I think that's the first thing I want to tell you. If we can't be accountable, then we're just going to make the world worse. Number 8, critical thinking has become the strongest cybersecurity tool because the biggest weakness is still human behavior, right? We've learned that hackers have learned it's often easier to fool a person than defeat a computer. A convincing email, fake text, or urgent phone call can bypass expensive security systems in fractions of a second. That's why slowing down, verifying requests, and asking questions have become some of the key valuable cybersecurity habits you can ever develop. So when we think about, cybersecurity and we think about how a lot of these companies are getting hacked, they're getting hacked by social engineering without spending a lot of time on that. It's the fact that many people are getting in through a back door. It could be calling them and maybe they have some information about somebody's name and they give partial information and then the person, oh, you know that person or this and that. And they know just enough and then they try to get the other person to share the next part. And I think that could be a big issue, guys, when the other person doesn't know what the heck is going on. That can be a huge, huge issue for everyone that we know. And I want to say, guys, that this is something that everybody has to realize in their life. Okay. Not just something you're going to do today, something you're going to make part of your life every single day. And that's something, again, that I feel many people out there don't understand. Everybody is so quick to make a judgment, right? They're quick. But what they're not quick to do is to actually analyze the facts and say, wait a minute, is this legitimate? So this person's calling asking for Marcy. Marcy's sick. So this makes sense. They're calling for Marcy. But I've never talked to this person before. I didn't know Marcy had a cousin. I didn't even know Marcy was, having the cousin live with her. I didn't know that. Of course, she didn't. None of it was actually real. Now, whether it's real or not doesn't matter. But the fact that they're calling in and they're asking you, hey, how do I get into this? I'm trying to help Marcy. She's just got home and she asked me to help log into her laptop. And so I'm just calling you. I know you know me. I've met you. I've seen you before. Maybe you saw the person, maybe you didn't. But that doesn't mean just because you know somebody that it's okay to put full trust. People today would rather just give out information because they can. And that can cost people a lot of priceless money, right? Priceless money, not money that's just going to be $10, guys. I'm talking about money that can cause a huge, huge problem, right? Money that can cause a huge problem. And I know a lot of you are saying to me, John, this can't be real. This can't be the way this goes. And I want to tell you that, yes, you see, that blink of an eye, that moment that you see, you feel, well, what's one thing going to do to me? Well, it's not the one thing per se. It's the actions and the habits you now develop because of the new trust that you suddenly have built, right? I think that's our biggest challenge right now is that trust that you have now destroyed. You've destroyed that trust, right? And the fact that you have destroyed that trust, that's a big, big problem, guys. A huge problem. And I'll tell you this because that trust took a long time to build. But you could destroy it in seconds. Okay? You could destroy that in seconds. That's something, guys, right? I know a lot of you are saying to me, John, you don't get it. No, I get it. See, we need to stop rushing. We need to keep verifying. We need to stop saying, oh, I'm busy. I don't have time. See, that attitude is what creates a very bad security footprint. That's a big problem. Right? And I will tell you that people who understand this will say, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't be doing it this way, right? Maybe I shouldn't. But then, if I acted this way once, would I act this way all the time? Chances are you probably would. Because, see, once we break a habit, which it's not easy to break a habit right away, but once you break it, right? Once you break the plastic off the juice or the soda, can you ever put that plastic back on again? No. No matter how hard you try to put it back on, it always looks broken. There's nothing you could do to put that plastic back on. I mean, nothing. Nothing you can do. And that's something I believe most people today don't want to listen to. Okay. And the reason they don't want to listen to it is one reason. I'll tell you why. It's because people want quick. People don't care about the security. And the reason they don't care is because it's time. Time's money. So before you open your mouth, before you share a password, before you give the keys away to even one door in your kingdom, take a few moments, verify some information. Can I call you back? Oh, yeah, you're home. Yeah, I'll call you right back. Oh, hi. Hi, Mildred. Is David there? David? Yeah, David just called and said that you needed help getting into your account. David's not here, and I'm in. I don't need any help in my account. I can see you're in now. Oh, okay. Who was that? I don't know. Guy calls back and he goes, "Hi, this is David." And now you know who David is, and suddenly you realize that it's not David. And you try to keep David on the phone for a while because now you're doing a trace on the call to find out where he's coming from. And you try to realize that it's now trying to trap that person, not just for you, but so that person doesn't cause more harm to others. Number 9, guys, modern scams are harder to detect because they increasingly look legitimate and are often powered by advanced technology, not just AI. But artificial intelligence allows criminals to create realistic emails, clone voices, convincing websites, and even fake videos. Many scams now appear completely authentic. Trust should always be backed by verification because technology is making deception far more believable than ever before. I was calling into one of our centers where we have lots of our servers co-located, and I needed something unblocked because I was at a site where I was blocked. I asked them blocked, and they said, "Sure, John, yeah, we know who you are, but we need you to verify it through a ticket. We'll email you, just reply back for security reasons, and we'll do it." Because even though they knew my name, they knew what I sounded like, it could be a bad actor. It could be AI using my voice to call in and ask them to do something. So they opened a ticket. I responded to the ticket, and only I had access to that email. So that was one way of them verifying it. Some companies you call in now, they say, go to your app or we're going to send you a code, do this, do that. And I don't want you to be frustrated by it. I was helping a client the other day switch from T-Mobile to Verizon. And the amount of time it took us was a little ludicrous because they had an old Android phone and, well, they lied to us first. Whenever you transfer a phone from T-Mobile, I'm not sure if it's the same with Verizon, it probably is. Whenever you transfer it out and they're linked, you have one number that you can create for basically the transfer code. And when you have that transfer code password, you can transfer it out. Well, on T-Mobile, you only need to create it once and you can use it for both lines. Now, if you're using an old Android, you can't use the app to do it. You have to change the chip on the phone. So when we think about these kinds of things, they required us to send a two-factor code. Then after the two-factor code, they sent another code to verify it was still us. Ladies and gentlemen, technology is shifting from replacing everything to repairing, maintaining, and extending the life of what we already have. Whether it's summer, winter, fall, or whatever, taking some RO water, putting some fresh lemon in it, really good for you, and it really refreshes you. So it's a great thing to do. Innovation isn't about buying the newest device. Better repairs, software updates, modular components, and upgrades help products remain useful much longer than they were designed for. This saves money, reduces waste, and creates a more sustainable future for both consumers and businesses. And a lot of manufacturers today don't think about sustainable. They just think about money. They think about, is this going to save us money? I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about a cable company. You probably know which one I mean. I was saying, they really changed. He's like, well, the people running the company now are the accountants. It's not the tech people. And they're looking at every penny, every dollar. This one company, I don't know if they still do this, the minute I think it's like October 1st hits, they turn off all the water coolers. If you want water, you can go get water. You can go get ice somewhere, but there's no more water cooler. Only from like May 1st to like October or something. That's when they have the water coolers working. That's crazy. But that's what companies are doing. They're operating on the premise of every dollar and cent. They're not operating on what's best for the client, what's best for the service. And see, ultimately, just because you're cheap on something doesn't mean you're going to be profitable. You might piss a lot of customers. You might lose a lot of customers. But a lot of these people, they don't think about those things, right? They just don't think about that. And I think that's something again that a lot of people like they just don't think about. They don't think about how or why that happens or even what's supposed to go on. All they know is that this is the way it works now and we're only doing it this way. But if you just operate on dollars and cents, you could put yourself out of business. Yeah. Number 11, awareness is becoming as important as financial literacy for navigating the modern world safely and confidently. Knowing how to recognize scams, secure your accounts, manage passwords, and protect your personal information is becoming a basic life skill, not a luxury anymore. Technology touches nearly every part of modern life today. Medical, could be service appointments for your car, home appointments, uh, could be loans, right? Understanding how to use it wisely has become just as valuable as understanding how to manage your finances. And so when we think about these things, life changes, right? Life actually changes in a way that we didn't believe, well, was actually possible, right? I think that's a challenge for a lot of people. And ladies and gentlemen, smart glasses just got banned in court. That's right. Well, that is in New York. Your smart glasses may soon have to stay outside in New York as they become the first U.S. state to ban smart glasses in all courthouses, citing concerns that built-in cameras and microphones could secretly record judges, juries, witnesses, and court proceedings. As wearable technology becomes more powerful, the debate is shifting from what these devices can do to where they should be allowed. Should smart glasses be banned in other places where privacy matters? Probably a good idea. So these are important things, guys. You know, what's going on. And the fact that they got banned, that's pretty important. Now, Meta has taken this very seriously as well in a different piece. And the smart glasses that they sell, the new ones that are out now, they've said that if you try to tamper with the light, they will deactivate your camera. They will deactivate your camera. Very interesting, interesting kind of thing, right? Something you would not expect, but something that I think a lot of people are starting to realize, right? Yeah. So Meta's cracking down on secret recordings, trying to hide the recording light on Meta's AI glasses may soon make that camera useless. Meta says it's rolling out a mandatory update that automatically disables the camera if it detects the recording indicator has been tampered with. Now, this may be an update for all glasses. They haven't made that clear, but I think it might be. Okay. And that means if you paid money to have somebody deactivate your light, the camera is not going to work anymore. And it's a mandatory update. So if you have your glasses, you're going to have to download it or the camera won't work anyway. So the companies also says it will remove ads promoting these modifications and pursue legal action against businesses offering them. As wearable technology becomes more powerful, protecting privacy is becoming just as important as adding new features. Do these changes make you trust smart glasses more, or are privacy concerns still too big of an issue for you? Yeah, it's getting to be a whole new world, isn't it? It's changing how we're operating, how we're capturing data in the world. And in one breath, guys, I got to say that's sad that we're at that level. I mean, in my own school at MSU, I can tell you that you are allowed to bring your phone to the gym. Okay. You may not, okay, under any circumstances, take your phone to a restroom and text or use it because they're afraid that you might be using the camera and they can't determine that. So they've just decided to say, okay, if you have a phone, you cannot use it in the restrooms. And I understand why. I mean, I think it makes perfect sense. Okay. And artificial intelligence is only as good as the data oversight, and people behind it are making human judgment more important now than ever before in our history. Right? That's a real win. A real win. And so AI can analyze enormous amounts of information, but it cannot replace wisdom, ethics, or common sense. That's right, you heard me. Common sense, something that I feel has gotten thrown out the window. I haven't seen it much around. Poor data creates poor results, right? Ask bad questions, get bad answers. Poor results, regardless of how advanced the technology becomes. The best outcomes will always come from combining intelligent systems with informed human judgment. We need a human or two in the loop at all times, guys, at all times. So the future will belong to those who continue learning, adapting, and using technology responsibly because you see, innovation, my friends, never stands still. Technology will continue evolving throughout our lives. The greatest advantage won't belong to the people with the newest devices. It will belong to those who stay curious, continue learning, adapt to change, and use technology responsibly. Lifelong learning remains the ultimate competitive advantage. Interesting, right? I have one that's going to really blow your mind. So you heard about the Taylor Swift wedding and the fact that you had to give up your phone or any camera device so you couldn't stream or take pictures or record anything. They were very serious about that. But the real story is the technology behind Taylor Swift's actual wedding technology. See, Madison Square Garden reportedly uses advanced security measures that include facial recognition systems capable of identifying specific people. And in the past years, those systems were allegedly used to deny entry to certain attorneys involved in lawsuits against the venue's owner and to identify other targeted individuals. Technology like this can protect people. It can also decide who gets through the door. As AI powered surveillance becomes more advanced, the biggest question isn't whether it works, it's who controls it and how it's used. Should private venues be allowed to use facial recognition to decide who is allowed inside? Now, granted, this was a private party. I get that, okay? But was this something that a venue can use all the time? So they had to have your picture, everything had to match up. If it didn't, and a picture was on there that they didn't like or wasn't allowed, well, it was immediately blocked. So, ladies and gentlemen, the weird things that can disrupt your Wi Fi. Most people blame the internet provider when Wi Fi slows down. The real problem could be sitting right inside your own home. A microwave can interfere with older 2.4 gigahertz bands on Wi Fi. A fish tank can weaken your signal because water absorbs radio waves. Mirrors, large TVs, and metal surfaces can reflect Wi Fi. That's right. Brick and concrete walls can block wireless signals. The best place for your router is high up and near the center of your home. Sometimes you don't need faster internet, you just need better Wi Fi placement. What's the strangest thing you've ever found that affected your Wi Fi? I'm curious. Let me know, guys. And AI was supposed to help us, but apparently it's getting more confusing for everyone. So, as we wrap up the show tonight, it's always a great show. Technology is definitely changing our world every single day. But understanding these changes is what transforms innovation into opportunity. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the more we learn about artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, digital privacy, and emerging technologies, the better prepared we'll be to make smart decisions for ourselves, our families, and, of course, our businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you learned a little more about technology and how to be safe around it and some things that actually might make your life a little easier. I thank you so much for joining me today for another amazing episode of the J Moore Tech Talk Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student at Montclair State University, passionate lifelong learner. And ladies and gentlemen, I am so grateful from the bottom of my heart to now be a published author. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, stay secure, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, that technology doesn't shape the future by itself. People do. Continue learning, continue adapting, and continue using innovation to build a smarter, safer, and more connected world. I think that's the missing link that so many people don't see. They look at the fact that, oh my gosh, look at how much money I can make. But they don't realize that what they're doing may not be the greatest thing for everybody. I've said this before, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Please check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creation, short form content, long form content, articles, reels, and so much more. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, AI is a tool. It's not good. It's not bad. It's how we choose to use it that makes it so. Have a great evening and a wonderful weekend. I'll catch you next week. Be well, everyone.